respected? What if I told you that 7 days from now, the person staring back at you in the mirror could be someone you barely recognize? Not because your face changed, not because your circumstances changed, but because your mindset, your habits, your energy, and your belief in yourself transformed so deeply that the old version of you simply couldn't survive. The question is not whether 7 days can change your life. The question is whether you're finally ready to change. You know, most people spend years waiting for their lives to improve. They wait for the right opportunity. They wait for more money. They wait for someone to believe in them. They wait for motivation. And while they're waiting, life keeps moving. Days become weeks. Weeks become months. Months become years. Then one day they wake up and wonder where all the time went. I learned something a long time ago. Your life doesn't change when the calendar changes. Your life changes when you change. There comes a moment in every person's journey when they get tired. Not physically tired, soul tired. Tired of making excuses. Tired of starting and stopping. Tired of looking at other people living their dreams while their own dreams remain trapped inside their heads. Maybe that's where you are right now. Maybe you're watching this because deep down, you're exhausted from being the version of yourself you've been settling for. You know you're capable of more. You can feel it. Every time you see someone succeed, something inside you whispers, that could be me. Every time you imagine your future, you see something bigger than your current reality. But then doubt shows up, fear shows up, comfort shows up, and suddenly the dream feels farther away. I want to tell you a story. There was a man who spent years complaining about his life. He hated his job. He hated his finances. He hated where he lived. He hated the direction he was heading. Every morning he woke up frustrated. Every night he went to sleep disappointed. One day he met an older gentleman sitting alone in a park. The older man asked him a simple question. If you keep doing exactly what you're doing today, where will you be in 5 years? The young man thought about it. Then his face changed, because for the first time, he realized something terrifying. Nothing was going to change. Not because change wasn't possible, because he wasn't changing. That realization hit him harder than any failure ever had. See, sometimes the greatest pain in life isn't failure. It's realizing that your habits are building a future you don't actually want. And that's when his transformation began. Not in 5 years, not in 1 year, not even in 1 month. It started the very next morning. That's why I believe 7 days can change a person. Not because 7 days is magical, because 7 days is enough time to prove to yourself that you're serious. The first thing you have to understand is that becoming unrecognizable starts in your mind before it ever shows up in your life. Most people are trying to change their results. Successful people change their identity. There's a huge difference. When someone says, I want to lose weight, they're focused on a result. When someone says, I am becoming a healthy person, they're changing identity. When someone says, I want more money, they're focused on a result. When someone says, I am becoming someone who creates value, they're changing identity. Your identity controls your actions. Your actions create your habits. Your habits determine your future. The reason many people stay stuck is because they were trying to build a new life while protecting their old identity. It doesn't work that way. The old version of you has to make room for the new version. That means letting go of excuses you've been carrying for years. That means refusing to repeat the same stories you've been telling yourself. That means ending your relationship with self-doubt. You see, every morning when you wake up, you have a choice. You can be the person you've always been, or you can become the person you've always wanted to be. The choice sounds simple, but it's difficult because growth requires discomfort, and people spend their entire lives running from discomfort. The alarm clock rings. Discomfort. The workout begins. Discomfort. Learning a new skill. Discomfort. Taking responsibility. Discomfort. Having difficult conversations. Discomfort. But here's the truth nobody talks about. The discomfort of discipline is temporary. The discomfort of regret lasts forever. Think about that. One hurts for a moment. The other hurts for years. The person who becomes unrecognizable in 7 days, understand something powerful. Every action matters. Every choice counts. Every hour is a vote for the person they're becoming. When they wake up early, they're casting a vote. When they choose learning over scrolling, they're casting a vote. When they keep a promise to themselves, they're casting a vote. And eventually, those votes create a completely different human being. You don't become extraordinary overnight. You become extraordinary through ordinary actions repeated consistently. That's where most people quit. They want dramatic change. They underestimate small change. But a tiny shift repeated every day becomes a massive transformation over time. Imagine a plane leaving New York. If the pilot changes direction by just a few degrees, the plane doesn't look different at first. The passengers don't notice. The sky looks the same. Everything feels the same. But hours later, that small shift leads to a completely different destination. That's your life. The little decisions you make today are quietly determining where you'll arrive tomorrow. Most people ignore those little decisions because they seem insignificant. But your future never ignores them. Every decision leaves a mark. Every habit leaves evidence. Every day is writing your story, whether you realize it or not. The question is simple. Are you writing a story you'll be proud to read? Because if you're not, the next 7 days could be the beginning of something extraordinary. Not because the world changes, because you do. And once a person truly changes from within, nothing around them can remain the same for very long. The second day of transformation is where most people begin to struggle. The excitement from the first day starts to fade. The motivation that felt so powerful yesterday isn't as loud anymore. Reality shows up, and reality asks a question that motivation never asks. Are you committed, or were you just excited? That's a question every successful person eventually has to answer. Because motivation is wonderful, but motivation is a visitor. Commitment is what stays. You see, a lot of people think successful individuals wake up every morning feeling inspired. That's not true. Some mornings they're tired. Some mornings they're discouraged. Some mornings they don't feel like doing anything. The difference is they learned how to move forward even when they don't feel like it. That's a superpower. The world celebrates talent. The world admires intelligence. But discipline beats both when they refuse to show up consistently. I remember hearing about a young man who dreamed of becoming successful. Every day he watched motivational videos. Every day he talked about his goals. Every day he imagined the future he wanted. But nothing changed. Years passed. The dream remained. Then one day he met someone who asked him a question. What have you done this week that proves your dream is important to you? The young man started talking about his plans. The mentor stopped him. I didn't ask about your plans. I asked about your actions. Silence. Because deep down he knew the answer. Dreams don't respond to words. Dreams respond to action. That's when he realized something life-changing. The person he wanted to become was waiting on the other side of consistent effort. Not perfect effort. Consistent effort. Perfection is another trap that keeps people stuck. Some people never start because they want everything to be perfect. Others quit because they made one mistake. They think failure means they're not capable. But failure isn't proof that you're incapable. Failure is proof that you're trying. Every successful person you admire has failed more times than you know. They just didn't stop. Think about a baby learning to walk. The baby falls hundreds of times. But nobody looks at that child and says, maybe walking isn't for you. No, the child keeps getting back up. Again, and again, and again. Until one day walking becomes natural. Somewhere along the way, adults forget that lesson. They fall once and call themselves failures. They make a mistake and question their entire future. But growth has never worked that way. Growth is messy. Growth is uncomfortable. Growth is frustrating. Growth often feels invisible before it becomes obvious. That's why day 3 is so important. By the 3rd day, something interesting begins to happen. The old version of you starts fighting back. You begin hearing familiar voices inside your head. Skip today. You've already done enough. You can start again next week. One day won't matter. Those voices sound harmless, but they are the voices that have stolen years from people's lives. because success is rarely destroyed by one huge mistake. It's usually destroyed by thousands of small compromises. One skipped workout, one broken promise, one unnecessary excuse, one more delay, one more tomorrow, and eventually those tomorrows become a lifetime. The greatest battle you'll ever fight isn't against other people. It's against the version of yourself that wants comfort more than growth. And here's the truth. Comfort has never created greatness. Every extraordinary achievement was born from someone choosing growth over comfort, someone choosing discipline over distraction, someone choosing purpose over pleasure. That's why these 7 days matter. Not because you're trying to impress anybody. Not because you're trying to prove something to the world. You're proving something to yourself. Every day you keep your word to yourself, your confidence grows. Not the loud confidence people fake on social media. Real confidence. The kind that's built through evidence. Because confidence isn't something you think your way into. Confidence is something you earn. You earn it every time you do what you said you would do. You earn it every time you keep going when nobody is watching. You earn it every time you choose the difficult path because you know it's the right one. By day 4, you'll begin noticing changes. Not necessarily physical changes, internal changes. Your mind becomes sharper. Your energy becomes stronger. Your focus becomes clearer. You start realizing that many of the limits you believed in were never real. They were stories. Stories repeated so many times they felt like facts. Maybe you've spent years saying you're not disciplined. Maybe you've spent years saying you're unlucky. Maybe you've spent years saying success happens to other people. But what if those stories were never true? What if they were simply excuses your fear created to keep you safe? Because fear has a strange way of disguising itself. Sometimes fear looks like procrastination. Sometimes fear looks like perfectionism. Sometimes fear looks like overthinking. But underneath all of it is the same message. Stay where it's comfortable. Yet everything you've ever wanted lives outside that comfort zone. The life you dream about, the confidence you want, the success you're chasing, the peace you're searching for. It's all waiting outside the boundaries of your current habits. And every day you step beyond those boundaries, you become someone new. You become stronger. You become wiser. You become more capable. Most importantly, you become proof that change is possible. People often ask when transformation becomes visible. The answer is simple. Transformation becomes visible long after it becomes real. A tree spends years growing roots underground before anyone sees its full height. The roots come first, then the growth. The same thing happens in your life. The discipline you're building, the mindset you're developing, the standards you're raising. These are roots. Nobody may notice them yet, but they're preparing you for a future that couldn't exist without them. And one day people will look at you and say, you changed. What they won't see are the quiet moments, the sacrifices, the early mornings, the difficult choices, the moments when you kept going despite doubt. Those moments are where transformation is born. By the end of day 4, you'll begin understanding something powerful. You don't need a new life. You need a new set of daily decisions. Because your future isn't created all at once. It's created one choice at a time, one habit at a time, one day at a time. And when enough of those days come together, the person you used to be starts disappearing. Not because you forced yourself to change, because you finally gave yourself permission to grow. By day 5, something remarkable begins to happen. The person who started this journey is no longer the same person standing here now. The mirror may look the same. Your surroundings may look the same. Your bank account may even look the same. But inside, a shift has taken place. And every major transformation in history began with an invisible shift before it became forth visible to the world. This is where many people make a mistake. They expect immediate rewards. They want instant proof that their efforts are working. They want results before the process has had time to do its job. But life doesn't reward impatience. Life rewards persistence. Think about a farmer. A farmer plants seeds and then waits. He waters them. He protects them. He trusts the process. He doesn't dig up the seeds every morning, asking why they haven't become trees yet. He understands something most people forget. Growth happens before evidence appears. And right now, that's exactly what's happening to you. You're planting seeds, seeds of discipline, seeds of confidence, seeds of self-respect, seeds of consistency. The problem is that most people quit before they see the harvest. They stop because they don't see immediate change. They stop because they expected applause. They stop because nobody noticed. But the greatest transformations often happen in silence. Nobody sees the battle inside your mind. Nobody sees the moments you chose discipline over excuses. Nobody sees the nights you kept learning while others were wasting time. Nobody sees the effort until one day they see the results, and then they call it luck. But you know better. Luck didn't wake you up early. Luck didn't help you keep going when you were tired. Luck didn't force you to believe in yourself when doubt was screaming in your ear. That's not luck. That's growth. That's commitment. That's character. And character is what truly makes a person unrecognizable. You see, success is not just about what you achieve. It's about who you become while achieving it. A person can gain money and still be weak. A person can gain attention and still be insecure. A person can gain status and still be lost. But when you build character, everything changes. Because character follows you everywhere. Character is who you are when nobody is watching. Character is what you do when excuses would be easier. Character is what carries you through storms. And every challenge you've faced in your life has been trying to build that character. The setbacks, the disappointments, the heartbreaks, the failures, the betrayals, the losses, all of it had a purpose. Not to destroy you, to develop you. Most people spend years asking, why is this happening to me? The stronger question is, what is this teaching me? Because every experience carries a lesson. Sometimes the lesson is patience. Sometimes it's resilience. Sometimes it's courage. Sometimes it's self-worth. But there is always a lesson. And when you begin looking for lessons instead of excuses, your entire life changes. By day 6, you'll notice something else. Your standards begin to rise. You stop accepting things that once felt normal. You stop tolerating habits that keep you small. You stop settling for mediocrity. Because once you experience growth, it's hard to return to comfort. Imagine climbing a mountain. The higher you climb, the farther you can see. The perspective changes. The world looks different. Your old problems look smaller. Your possibilities look bigger. The same thing happens when you grow mentally. You begin seeing opportunities where others see obstacles. You begin seeing solutions where others see problems. You begin seeing potential where others see limits. And that's when transformation becomes unstoppable. Because the biggest prison in the world isn't made of steel. It's made of limiting beliefs. The belief that you're too old. The belief that you're too young. The belief that you're too late. The belief that you're not talented enough. The belief that other people have advantages you don't have. For years, those beliefs can keep a person trapped. Not because they're true, because they're believed. The moment you stop believing them, the prison door opens. And suddenly you realize something extraordinary. The person holding you back was never the world. It was the version of yourself that accepted limitations without questioning them. That realization is powerful. Because if your thinking created the prison, your thinking can create the freedom. That's why becoming unrecognizable isn't really about changing your appearance. It's about changing your mindset. It's about becoming someone who refuses to surrender their future to fear. Someone who refuses to let circumstances define their destiny. Someone who understands that greatness isn't reserved for a chosen few. It's available to anyone willing to grow, anyone willing to learn. Anyone willing to keep moving forward. By the evening of day 6, you'll start feeling a quiet confidence. Not arrogance, not ego, something deeper. The confidence that comes from knowing you're becoming stronger. The confidence that comes from keeping promises to yourself. The confidence that comes from realizing you're capable of more than you once believed. And here's the beautiful part. You're only getting started. Because transformation is not an event, it's a lifestyle. 7 days isn't the finish line. 7 days is proof. Proof that you can change. Proof that you can grow. Proof that you can become the person you've always imagined. The old version of you spent years doubting. The new version is learning to trust. The old version waited for perfect conditions. The new version creates opportunities. The old version looked for reasons to quit. The new version looks for reasons to continue. And every day that passes widens the distance between those two people, until eventually the gap becomes so large that the person you used to be feels like a stranger. That's when you know transformation is real, not when others notice. When you notice, when you realize your mindset is different, your standards are different, your habits are different, your energy is different, your future is different. Because once a person changes their inner world, their outer world eventually has no choice but to follow. And now we arrive at day 7, the day that many people imagine will feel dramatic, the day they expect fireworks, the day they expect some magical moment where everything suddenly becomes different. But the truth is far more powerful than that. Day 7 doesn't change your life because of what happens on that day. Day 7 changes your life because of who you've become during the journey. Take a moment and think about the person you were just 1 week ago. Think about the doubts, the excuses, the fears, the habits, the mindset, the stories you kept telling yourself. Now look at who you are today. Maybe your circumstances haven't completely changed. Maybe your goals haven't all been achieved yet. Maybe the mountain is still standing in front of you. But something important is different. You are no longer the same person standing at the bottom of that mountain. You are stronger, wiser, more disciplined, more aware, more focused. And most importantly, you now know something that millions of people never discover. You know that change is possible. Not someday, not next year, right now. You see, the greatest lie people believe is that transformation requires massive action. The truth is that transformation requires consistent action, small actions, daily actions, actions repeated long enough to become habits, habits repeated long enough to become character, character repeated long enough to become destiny. That's how lives change. That's how dreams become reality. That's how ordinary people become extraordinary. Not through one giant moment, through thousands of small moments that nobody sees. The morning you got up when you didn't feel like it. The moment you chose growth instead of comfort. The decision to keep going when quitting seemed easier. The promise you kept to yourself. Those moments mattered more than you realize. Because every one of them was building a new version of you. And here's what I need you to understand before this message ends. The goal was never to become someone else. The goal was to become the person you were always capable of being. The confident version, the disciplined version, the courageous version, the focused version. The version hidden beneath years of fear, doubt, procrastination, and excuses. That person has been inside you all along, waiting for you to believe, waiting for you to decide, waiting for you to stop asking for permission and start taking responsibility. The world doesn't need another copy of someone else. It needs the strongest version of you. Your family needs it. Your future needs it. Your dreams need it. And deep down, you need it. Imagine yourself 1 year from now. Imagine looking back at this moment. Imagine thanking yourself for not giving up, for not settling, for not choosing comfort. Imagine the pride you feel, knowing that everything changed because you finally made a decision to stop surviving and start growing, a decision to stop watching life and start participating in it, a decision to stop doubting your potential and start developing it, because that's where every transformation begins, with a decision, not a perfect plan, not perfect circumstances, not perfect timing, a decision, a firm commitment that no matter what happens, you will continue becoming better than you were yesterday. Life will still challenge you. There will still be difficult days. There will still be setbacks. There will still be moments when the road feels hard. But now you know something you didn't know before. You can handle hard things. You can keep going. You can grow through discomfort. You can become stronger than your excuses. You can become bigger than your fears. You can become unrecognizable. Not because 7 days changed everything, because 7 days proved that you were willing to change everything. So when this video ends, don't just feel inspired. Take action. Don't just admire the message. Live it. Don't just dream about becoming someone new. Become that person. Starting today, starting now, because the future you've been praying for is waiting on the other side of the decisions you make next. And years from now, when people look at your life and wonder how you transformed so much, how you became so confident, so disciplined, so focused, so successful, you'll know the answer. It wasn't luck. It wasn't talent. It wasn't perfect timing. It was a choice. A choice made one day at a time. A choice repeated until it became your identity. A choice that turned a week into momentum. Momentum into habits. Habits into character. And character into a completely new life. Remember this. The person you become tomorrow is being created by the choices you make today. Choose growth. Choose discipline. Choose faith. Choose yourself. And never underestimate what can happen when an ordinary person finally decides to become extraordinary. Your 7 days start now,